Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review is for Lake. Now Lake was released just a couple of days ago on the PlayStation. It's a game I didn't know anything about really. It only really came to my attention when I saw the release trailer for it on Friday on YouTube. And I watched the trailer, and as I generally do, if it's a game I don't know much about, I will generally watch the trailers for new games. And it got me thinking when I watched the trailer. I thought this could very well be a game for me. It reminded me a little bit of Open Country, the game that was released last year. You know, where the guy goes out to the country to change his lifestyle and he goes hunting and all this kind of stuff. Well, this has a very similar storyline without the hunting. If you replace the hunting with delivering letters, then you've got a very similar game in a lot of ways. And I do joke a little bit there, but they are similar in theme, I suppose. Now, you play a character called Meredith. The game is set in the mid-80s, 1986, and she is returning to her hometown after 22 years for some rest and recuperation. Now, her father is the postman in this local town. And they've gone on vacation, her mother and father. So she's taken over the postal route while they're on vacation and staying at their house. So you're there for a couple of weeks, basically, to rest and recuperate, deliver the mail to all the locals, mail and parcels every single day, but also making new friends and getting reacquainted with the people that you grew up with in this town all these years ago. And that is essentially the game. In a nutshell, it is basically that. Now, if that doesn't sound interesting to you, then this definitely is not going to be a game for you. If you, like me, are looking and searching endlessly for relaxing games, chilled out games, fairly unchallenging games that are a breeze to play, but just very, very relaxing, well then, perk up, guys, because this is definitely going to be for you. This is amongst the most chilled out experiences I've ever had playing a game. It is literally one of the simplest concepts you could ever expect to play in a game. And it's a game that, honestly, I didn't really expect to enjoy it as much as I was going to. Because it is basically the same thing every day. You're getting up, every morning you set off in your post van, delivering letters and parcels to people. Along the way, you'll make new connections. Usually, you'll drop a parcel off to somebody. You'll start a conversation. That conversation could lead to meeting them later or meeting them on another day. So you'll add them into your schedule and meet up with them later, depending on what it is. Like, for example, there's one local who wants some help writing a letter to the local council sort of thing to complain about something. He doesn't feel like he's got the skills to do it, so you decide to help. There's another person who you befriend who owns like the video shop, and can I just say it's the coolest video shop I've ever seen in a game. It's got all these really authentic covers and sleeves and posters of films that you recognise from the 80s, just tweaked and changed ever so slightly. It's a work of genius, really. I spent a good 10 minutes wandering around this video shop just looking at all the DVDs, not DVDs, VHS sleeves, because it's set in the 80s, obviously. So that's basically what you're doing. You're making these connections and deciding whether you're going to pursue these relationships and these friendships or not. So you do get some very basic and simple dialogue options, and it's fully voice acted, the game, which is another thing to say. This probably wouldn't be anything like as enjoyable without that voice acting, and the voice acting is of a very good standard. So you get these dialogue options, and you can go down usually kind of three routes for the dialogue options. You can be very positive and agree to these meetups or these plans with people or whatever you want to do. You can agree to them. You can kind of be a bit lukewarm on it, or you can kind of be not full on rude about it, but a bit more negative about it. And the idea is with the game, by the end of your time back in your hometown, you can decide whether you're going to go back to your high-pressure job in the city, which is like working for like a computer company, or staying here and living the quiet life. And your dialogue options will generally decide what route you're going to go down. So it's fairly simple stuff. It's not, it's not massively branching storylines or anything like that, and it's definitely nothing dramatic. If you make some choices that kind of go against the code of the post office and things like that, you might get in a bit of trouble here and there. But honestly, guys, the main problems you've got here is, befriending the neighbours, helping people out with problems, and continuing with your daily routine. And to be honest, it is a really chill experience, and I've really been. Now I haven't completed the game. I've put about 6 or 7 hours into it, something like that. It's not going to keep you going probably much beyond maybe 10, 12 hours, maybe the game, maybe a little bit more depending. But it's kind of impressed me. It does get to a point a couple of times where you start the day and you're like, oh, how many letters am I delivering today? And you've got like a map that you can bring up, and you do have the option on the map. You can kind of put a waypoint, and you kind of set your own route if you like. So you'll put waypoints, and you'll go and deliver the letters and the parcels. Or you do have an option to kind of auto drive there, so you can kind of put the autopilot on in your van, and you can just kind of take in the scenery, all this kind of stuff. But it does, don't get me wrong, it does get a little bit repetitive. The game's a little bit janky too. It's not the smoothest experience I've ever had in regards to a game. And to say this is the PlayStation 5 version that I'm playing, you wouldn't really be able to tell. It doesn't feel like highly polished, and there are still some fairly lengthy loading times to be honest, you don't really if it was a PlayStation 4 game that I'm playing, I wouldn't necessarily be that bothered. But if it's a PlayStation 5 game, for me, it should be optimized for PlayStation 5. So there shouldn't be like anything like the load times that we get here. They're not the longest I've ever experienced, but still, on a PlayStation 5, you don't really want to experience many loading screens at all. I do think the game looks decent for what it is. Actually, the production value surprised me a little bit for the price that I paid. And I paid just over £15, I think, for this in the UK. It is what it is. It's not the best looking game in the world, but it's certainly not the worst looking game in the world. Like I said, I think the voice acting's pretty good. And actually, quite a bit of effort has gone into the game. It's got like a radio station as well when you're driving about to pass the time. But other than that, there's not much else really in regards to the sights and the sounds. So it is what it is, really, this game, guys. If you're looking for a really relaxing experience and something that is certainly a little bit different, that isn't going to challenge you, it's just going to chill you, really, then this really might be the game for you. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because it is definitely not for everybody. It does get a little bit repetitive, and it is fairly limited, I suppose. But it's quite a surprising, unique game that is worth checking out, especially for the price. If you're not sure about it, if you wait a month or two, it'll probably be well under £10, and it's certainly worth picking up then. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the review, and of course I'll be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.